This is a special edition of the Nature Journal Workshop. This is one of our art and conservation series that I'm doing in cooperation with Marcia Sivek from BeProvided Conservation Radio, which is a wonderful, wonderful podcast where you can learn about conservation and people who are in the field doing amazing things and helping be stewards of the planet. She got me in touch with the Snow Leopard Conservancy. And she's going to tell you a little bit about them and introduce them. And this is a really exciting connection. And we're really happy to have you on, Marcia, and so delighted and honored to be here with the researchers and educators of the Snow Leopard Conservancy.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much, Jack, for this event and doing this. I'm just so impressed whenever you can just take on a new animal whenever I propose something and educate us.
You keep me on my toes.
And I love it because I think this offers, I think it allows us to see the beauty of the animal as we draw it, you know, that we wouldn't normally see. And I think it's great what you do. So thank you. So I want to welcome, I'm going to keep it brief so you can meet the people of the Snow Leopard Conservancy. We do first, we have Rodney Jackson here. He's the founder of the Snow Leopard Conservancy. And his wife, I think Darla may be on here somewhere too, but I don't see her. So welcome, Rodney. It's good to see you. And we're going to learn more about Rodney as we go along. So I just wanted to say hi.
Yeah. Unfortunately, Darla cannot join us. She's at the dentist right now.
Oh, no. Okay.
Couldn't change that appointment.
Well, we'll be thinking over. So, and then I also have Ashleigh Lutz-Nelson here. She's up there next to Jack. I don't know if you can see it in the same order. And she's the vice president of the Snow Leopard Conservancy. And I met her a couple years ago. She gave us a tour of the San Francisco Zoo as we were interviewing her, and it was wonderful. We got to see the baby snow leopards and tigers, and she is definitely the cat expert. I almost said cat lady, but that's me. I think I'm the cat lady. It's a different connotation. So, and I also want to introduce Shavaun Kidd, and she is the outreach coordinator for the Snow Leopard Conservancy. And we've met a few times back at the Wildlife Conservation Network, and I was honored to interview her this year and Jack Wonderly for their new book, which they'll be talking about, and it's called Searching for the Snow Leopard. So it's a beautiful book. You can see the cover here, and we'll talk more about it. But thank you, everybody, for being here. I appreciate it. So it's all yours, Ashleigh. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Great. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for this event. We are so excited to be here today. Thank you for the wonderful introduction. Marcia, we are so excited to work with you. With BeProvided Conservation Radio, you elevate the voices of conservationists and really provide a platform for raising really important awareness for wildlife conservation. So we salute you and thank you. And John, thank you so much for hosting this. Your art and nature journaling workshops, not only celebrate wildlife but also, really nurture the heart and soul and art. So we really, really appreciate the opportunity to be here today. So I thought I would start by taking everybody on a little trip to Nepal into the Himalaya to see what it's like to be a snow leopard.
Siobhan, you need to unmute yourself. I mean, Ashleigh, you need to unmute.
Oh, thanks. Can you hear me now?
Yes, yes, we can.
Okay, great. Here, let me move on to the next slide. So that video is so inspiring. That was done by one of our conservation partners, Tashi Gali, who's a photographer and field biologist and citizen scientist. So he sets the camera traps, and we work with him on ecotourism in these areas, which provide the communities really important incomes. So yeah, just thought we'd go to the roof of the world for a little bit, really set the stage, get everybody in the mood and inspired. Snow leopards are a magnificent elusive cat. And I have the pleasure of introducing our founder and director, Dr. Rodney Jackson, who is one of the world's leading experts in snow leopards and their conservation. Dr. Jackson and Darla Hillard were the first to study snow leopards in the early 80s after receiving a Rolex Award to go to Nepal and learn more about the species that really was considered almost mythical prior to that. And I would like to introduce Dr. Jackson, and so he can share a special story with everybody on his time in the early years in Nepal, learning all about the behavior and ecology and diets of snow leopards, which really paved the way for snow leopard conservation. Dr. Jackson.
Thank you, Ashleigh. Thank you, Marcia. Thanks, Jack, John. Gosh, I guess I am the luckiest person in the world. You know, I was born and grew up in Africa and came to the US for a degree. I was on my way back to Africa when I made a side trip to Nepal, and that altered my life. I never went back to Africa, but I had the really good fortune of being the first person to capture and radio collar and track snow leopards with my wife Darla over and Nepalese associates over about a 4.5-year period. We call it 5 of them. And, you know, it was like studying a ghost because we never saw them. We heard the beep, 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 and we knew roughly where they were. And we had spotting scopes and we were looking and looking. But this cat has such incredible camouflage, whether it's in the snow or it's on, you know, yellow rocks. It just is not seen. And many was a time walking up to a high camp that I would pass within 3 yards of a snow leopard, not see it, hear a rock fall behind me, look behind, and what do I see? This long tail disappearing. So they're just incredible. They see people way before we see them, always. And they've been very shy, of course, because people have prosecuted them as they do kill people's livestock. It's their livelihood, and naturally they get upset and see snow leopards as a pest. But the good news is, working with our range country partners and local communities in particular, that image has really turned around now to where we are able to reduce livestock losses and to ensure that snow leopards are not killed in retribution for just trying to make a living. And, you know, anytime I have a chance to share something, I really love to. But Jack, I really would love your skill, you know, of drawing these things, because so many times you're sitting up on the rocks, you're cold as hell, you'd like to get some activity in your body and your hands. And oh boy, if I could draw, that would be great. I have my camera, but cameras tend to get very cold very quickly in bad weather, unlike a pen maybe. So welcome to the land and the view of snow leopards, the lives they live. We really got to keep this animal for the next many, many generations. Thank you. Now, I'm not sure, did anybody hear? I don't see an image of myself. I see. Ash. Unmute. I'm not sure if Ashley's on or I am on here, but this is the mating call of snow leopards, and they have a very narrow mating season, really January through early March. And the local people actually, when they hear this call, they say, oh, that's the Yeti, watch out, don't go out at night. What's happening here?
Hey, okay, great. Thank you. I wasn't allowed to talk there for a second. Thank you so much, Rodney, for sharing the personal stories and about snow leopards. I know they inspired me growing up, and I know they influenced so many people, including so many people living in snow leopard country, that has inspired them to grow up to be snow leopard conservationists. So thank you and Darla for all of your pioneering work, and it really has paved the way for community-based conservation. And I just wanted to share a couple of beautiful pictures taken by Susie Esterhaz, who's a world famous photographer. I got to know Susie when I was working at the San Francisco Zoo with our 7 snow leopards there. And I had the privilege of working with this snow leopard mother, Dawa, who is a young first-time mom, and her 2 adorable cubs. And our relationship started before the cubs were born, actually working with mom, training her on an ultrasound, voluntary ultrasound behavior so we could monitor the cubs' growth. And she entrusted us when the cubs were born to take care of them daily, helping to provide them optimal care, and getting to know this family in such an intimate way, and the vulnerability of them was an incredibly special time for all of us. And it was such a privilege to be able to provide them with this level of optimal care. Watching them develop as cubs into young little apex predators was quite remarkable. They went from just these helpless small little cubs into these amazing little apex predators, which they learned how to hunt from their mom. And she was a young mother herself, but she would let her vigilant guard down every now and again and play tag with the cubs, showing them all of these fantastic helicopter moves and ricocheting off the rocks. And soon after, they started playing and really showing, really developing these skills, and from a very young age, which was really neat to see and very, very special. And it was really different than working with the other big cats. I've worked with lions and tigers, cheetahs in the past, and they don't have motor skills like this. They're incredibly powerful apex predators, but snow leopards really stand apart by hunting on these really steep, rugged slopes. And they utilize that long tail for balance and those paws. And it's just really incredible. And they really stand out from the other cats. And so sharing these intimate moments with these families, is really special. And these cats are absolutely incredible and endangered. And it's just such a privilege to be able to work with them. So we're really excited to learn how to draw today. I'm exceptionally excited because this is the best cat I can draw. This is my best version right here. So I am very excited, and I'm going to turn it over to John now. And thank you very much again for the opportunity to be here today.
Well, we are delighted to have you with us, stewards of nature, and what you do to understand the animals and to work tirelessly for their conservation. Mad respect. At this point, I just want to point out to people that if you would like to support the Conservancy, we'll mention this at the end, but I want to mention it now because I don't want to forget it. We put a link to their donation page in the chat, and I will also include that in the show notes when we publish this online. The work that they do is supported by donations from people who care about the cats. And if that's you, you now know where to go to make that happen. I'm going to show you a few tricks about drawing snow leopards, and then we will actually I just finished drawing one. It's amazing, as Rodney was saying, the degree to which they're able to blend into their environment. And so this is a drawing of the first snow leopard that saw Rodney, that Rodney didn't see because it was so well camouflaged. That's the one that he walked right past, so there we go. So what I'm going to do is share a screen here. And then what I'm going to be doing is bouncing back and forth between a camera with this view and hold on a second. Hold on, I thought that this would be a little bit more of a smooth process.
Let folks know that they can, while you're setting up, that if they have any questions about snow leopards or the Snow Leopard Conservancy or questions for Ashleigh or Rodney, that they can go ahead and type them into the chat. And there's some folks back here. We're going to get your questions and we will have some Q&A at the end.
Excellent. Yeah, so we will be able to answer some of your questions during this. And I thought that I've just figured this out. Melinda, some time ago, helped me figure out a few. Are you folks currently seeing my desktop?
No.
Yes, we are.
Oh,
It's
yes.
the Snow Leopards Art and Conservation.
Yeah, we see the whole desktop.
Yeah.
Oh, this is good. This is most auspicious. And I am going to go view, play slideshow in window. I'm slowly getting better at, I think, using this. And here we go. There's the zoom. Nope, not that.
Yeah, it's looking good so far.
So we have.
Yeah, we just need to get your document camera over on the right.
And document camera.
There you go.
All right. So yeah, Melinda is my tech support among many other functions here. So what we want to be able to do is to be able to see the piece of paper and the screen at the same time. There we are. And I'm going to just close all this up. There, I think we have them both.
And if you click on the visualizer screen, it'll remove the bar on the bottom.
Ah,
There we go.
very good. All right. So let's just start off with sort of the body and the gesture of this little beastie. So here is, you can notice that in this slide, the snow leopard is exactly the same color as the rocks that are around it, right? Which is just pretty spectacular. So we're going to zoom in on this little kitty cat here, and I'm going to ask everybody to, on your piece of paper, make a light, loose sketch to kind of get the shape of this. So everybody do it right now the way that you do it. We're going to just take a 30-second quick little squiggle that makes the shape of this. And then I will kind of talk about kind of what my approach is, and you can see if you like what I do. But I want all of you to make your own right now. My general approach to making a gesture sketch starts with the line of the back of the beastie. So here you've got, or sometimes I'll kind of draw myself in a little head. And this is how I sort of show that this thing is looking towards me. There's sort of a line through its eyes, line through the middle of its face. And then I just sort of come down its back and we get that line. So there's a little kind of a bump. Kind of go off, there's a bump, and then there's a curve of the back. Getting this sort of head to the back line is a wonderful way to start any illustration of a mammal. And then I'm going to flesh this out by adding on some of the sort of chunks of the units of its body. So I will think of up here in its upper body, sort of a ball up in here, and a ball down on its hips. So this lower ball is the hips and the lower legs. This upper ball is your shoulders and your shoulder blade. And here I'm going to decide to make my hips a little bit bigger. You see at this stage in the drawing, there's no real detail that is happening here. It's just these sort of light scribbles. Here's a tail going off the page, more tail, more tail, more tail. With snow leopards, you don't have to worry about drawing too much tail, right? If you draw the right amount of tail, a normal amount of tail, you have underestimated the tail. So feel free just to go nuts on adding more tail on these critters. So that is what I might do sort of for an initial sketch. Again, that line along the back, a ball in where the shoulders are, a ball where the hips are, front legs and back legs. Let's change our slide here. So let's try this. Everybody make a quick, light, loose, just quick thumbnail sketch. Kind of a ball for the head and a little swoop down for the body.
Jack, can you slide your notebook just over to the left a little bit
Yeah,
more?
I'm still just drawing tail.
Thanks.
Okay, maybe I exaggerated the tail. I didn't think it could be done, but there it is. For the head, again, initially I'm just sort of making a little crosshairs through it. We'll get into some heads in a little bit. But essentially my parts of my body now, I can draw over this. And those are my snow leopard sort of essentials there. The mass of the body. Now, if you're drawing a gazelle, you have to get hyper into like, where's the shoulder blade and where is the head of the humerus and all these other sorts of things, because all that anatomy shows on the skin. These ones have such a heavy coat. You saw that video of the snow leopard walking around in the snow with unmelted snow all over its fur. It's that well insulated that the heat of its body doesn't melt the snow that falls on it. That is some crazy good insulation. So check this out. Red-brown rocks, red-brown snow leopard. So again, isn't it interesting that the color of the snow leopard is exactly the color of all the rocks that are around it? Red-brown bushes in the background, then we've got a red-brown snow leopard, dark dots. It's no wonder these things, you don't see them as you are bopping around there. So in these drawings, we're going to be de-emphasizing a little bit the sort of the, sometimes when we draw something, it's bone by bone, but that's not what we're doing here. Here we just got kind of the mass of your head, and again, look at the shape of that kind of contour of the body. It comes out as a shelf as you're going over its shoulder blade, down, and then we're going across across the body there, down to the hips. And then too much tail that sticks out. And if I go and draw over this, actually on this one, I'm going to tilt my eyes here. I make this line through the eyes because I want to keep my eyes and my ears parallel, right? So I have one ear over here, an ear over here. I'm going to come in slightly on those cheeks. As I'm coming out here, just instead of drawing a hard line like that, my line's going to come out, and then I'm going to do something like that as I go around that corner, where it just sort of gives you a suggestion that this is fuzziness. And other places, that kind of line of the body, I can make a regular line. If I want to suggest again that that's fuzziness, I can just, a couple of places like that, I can just put in a few little kind of hatch marks. And that says like, oh no, this is furry. The tail, look at how ridiculously thick this is. If you have a long tail, think about, black-tailed jackrabbits in the desert have huge ears. Up in the Arctic, the snowshoe hare has tiny little ears. So as you go further north into cold places, you see a tendency for species to get smaller and smaller appendages sort of sticking out. This is an exception to that. So as you mentioned earlier, this tail is going to be really important for balance and turning in some of these places where you really don't want to lose your balance. So if you are going to then have a long tail, you need to insulate the bejeebers out of that. And so that's why, like, I drew my tail too thin. It's thicker. It's going to be a ridiculously thick chunk of tail that is going out there.
Jack, can you push your drawing just slightly to the left? Thanks.
I really see why you're not spotting these animals out in the field. And it's not because you're not trying. This is just such awesome camouflage. So everybody try this again. Make a ball for that head, and then feel your way out over that back, all right? That sort of bump of the shoulders, bump of the back. And then I'm going to put in kind of a mass in here where the shoulders are. I'm going to put a mass in here where the hips are. Another useful negative space to notice is what is the angle when you kind of come off the head here. Look at the shape of the air right underneath there. Like what happens here? Here we're kind of coming out here so that the head is sticking out like that. So I'm going to do that same trick kind of coming across here, just sort of suggest that this is kind of fluffy. That ridiculous tail. I was saying, like, but what about all that sort of stuff in between? What about there? And all those spots, all those spots. Okay, we'll get to some spots in just a moment, but initially what you want to focus on is just sort of getting the overall shape of the thing. And anytime you're drawing from life in the field or from photographs that, aren't taken at an animal park, there are going to be parts of things that you don't see. And just go with that. So if this critter is blending into its environment, you draw, like the really well camouflaged one that just looks like this. It's hiding in the grass there. See? Now, if you go to an animal park that might have a snow leopard, or a place where snow leopards are in captivity, you're going to see some super fluffed out, ultra fuzzy, blow dried critter. In the wild, its fur gets a little bit more oil in it. And rather than this kind of hair fuzz ball, what you're going to be seeing are that the hair is going to clump up. Also, before we kind of leave this, actually, let's since we're here with this whole frontal here, let's just sort of think of how we might draw this, because here you're not seeing the line at the back. So I've got a head in here. And how am I then going to handle this body? What I do when I think about, say, this critter here, I think about its body as the head. There's this upper shoulder section, there's the hip section, and then there's a third little part in between those. So I've got 1, 2, 3 body sections. If I am looking at something that is more from the front, then what happens is this number 1, you see all of that ball. Then you see a little bit of ball number 2 sticking out from behind it. And then often more prominently, a bunch of ball number 3 out behind that. So here's 1, 2, and 3. That's what's going on here. So see how 2 kind of tucks in a little bit more? And in this 3/4 view, section number 1, the upper chest of the critter, that's going to be out there more in your face. So what I'm going to do on this is I'm going to think of this beastie as having, here's ball number 1. And then I've got a little kind of hint of some ball number 2 sticking out there. And then there's a whole bunch of ball number 3. 1, little bit of 2 sticking up in here, and 3. In number 1, it'll help you to sort of think of, here's the center line of this chest. That's going to help you get things symmetrically on the sides of that. For putting in those legs, first put in the negative shape between the legs. And then let yourself put in the rest of the leg, and the legs will be in the right position. Huge, broad snowshoe feet. Oh, that's so amazing. Just adaptation, adaptation, adaptation right here. Look at that, again, that thickness of that tail is absurd. So if that is my kind of quick doodle of this thing, it has an ear that is sticking up. I'm not going to make my ears too big. Ears, by the way, have a little bit of a bump on the bottom side of them. You sometimes see that. You see that in that photograph. For now, I'm just going to be putting in sort of a box where this face comes in. And the far side of my body, cutting down a few little lines like this, just sort of suggest that this is fuzzy. For the feet, I'm going to put a little kind of line in where there's that inflection in front of the toes. And then sort of show some of the breaks between those toes, kind of running into that little grass thing that I drew earlier. Part of your brain is going to want to make these legs longer because you've seen many more photographs of cheetahs than you have snow leopards. Let's take a look at this one, this wild critter. Notice that that last one looked super blow dried, and you're thinking, I got to draw in all the hair. At any kind of reasonable, here, you would be so lucky to see this thing from, even this distance. Here, like, look, there's a speck way out there. It's snow leopard. Oh, yeah. And by the way, it's exactly the same color as all the rocks around it. Oh, man. So let's look at the pattern. So you have rings and spots. Rings and spots. So some of the rings fill in to be spots. Along the middle of the back, you have more spot. And then below that is an area of the biggest rings. So big rings down on the bottom, on the upper parts of the body, onto the tops of the legs, the top of the shoulder. But as you go further down on the legs, those rings turn into spots. Right? You do not have to copy it spot for spot for spot. But we do want to notice that the rings and the spots, there is a pattern to the pattern. So notice that along the top edge, you've got that dark line sort of showing you the central line of the thing. There is a row of big spots that is just dropped down below that. Some of them are fused together into each other. And below that is another line a little bit more broken up. So let's remember this pattern. And we're going to back up to some of the slides that we've already seen and just take a look at this again. Notice here you see the legs very well, and down on those lower legs, that's where the dots, the open spots are turning into closed spots. Beautiful little patterns on the head. Whoops, wrong direction. All right. Up there on the back, some of those dots forming together into, especially on the back there, into a line going along the side of the back. Notice that then the lines below that, there's a little open spot mark here. And so you've got a little bit of, they're not just sort of random spots anywhere. We've got this forming a line up here. This is sometimes separate spots, but these ones here are fused together. Then we've got spots going down onto the tail, getting larger, and then turning into what appears to be bands going down for the rest of the tail. So there you see that center line closed in. Notice how on either side of that, there's a row to the left, a row to the right of big open ones. You drop down another level, there's a row. On the top of the hips here, you see open spots. If we could see further down on the legs, those would get into little spots. So just noticing that it's not just sort of put in open circles all over this thing, but there are patterns to it. So were you to spot this critter in the field, first of all, congratulate yourself. Secondly, you would want to say out loud information about the spot patterns that you'd see. Like, okay, along the sort of central kind of lower hip center line, dark line of dots. Then out from that, open spots going down onto the tail, where actually on the top of the tail, closed spots, open spots going down on the tail, then forming more lines lower in the tail. So if you verbalize what you see, your brain will stick those details much better, right? Here you have that line going down right the middle of the spine. which is a real treat for us as illustrators and drawers, because we often want to keep track of where's the center line of something. So when something has a little stripe right down the middle of its lower back, that's a present to us. Then notice the general pattern: upper legs, open spots. You go further down, you're going to turn into closed spots. Now, we're going to play with the head just a little bit here. And actually, I'm only going to be doing the front and a 3/4 view. So looking at the heads of these two, notice that there are some real similarities between them in the general areas where it is not spotted and it is spotted. But spot for spot for spot, they are unique. So each snow leopard has a different thumbprint of little spots going across its face and body. So if you get the general idea of where these spots are, you're going to be in good shape. But you don't, and if you are a biologist recording information about an individual, then it is going to be particularly interesting for you to kind of map that out, because I don't know if they're doing this with snow leopards. It's probably a small enough population that they don't need to do this, but they, with a lot of other cats, by mapping the pattern of the spots on the cheek, you can actually tell individuals apart. With a lower population of critters, maybe that's not necessary. We can check in with our friends at the Conservancy later. So let's just make a few notes about this critter. First of all, the nose does not stick out very far. So a shallow nose, but it is really broad. So little kind of nostril thing in here, but the big nostril sweep way back in here. You're up at high elevation. With every breath, you want to get more of that oxygen into you. If you do any bit of scampering or running, you don't want to get winded. Big old nose. Better to breathe through your nose than through your mouth, because as the air comes in through your nose, it goes through a series of moist nasal turbinates, and so tissue-covered bones that humidify and warm the air before it hits your lungs. So when it's really cold, you don't want to be a mouth breather, because then you're getting cold air directly into your lungs. Pretty cool trick. So spots, yes, across the forehead, but let's really pay attention to what the spots do, sort of where we find those and where we don't find those. So cheeks, yes, spots in rows in the whisker bed. So where the whiskers come out, you're going to get spot, 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 lines of spots. Bottom of the corner of the mouth, big, bold, dark spot, right? Also on the lower part of the face, no little spots, but a few, 2 or 3 big, soft spots in there. That's cool. Nothing on the bridge of the nose, these cute little spots in here. But let's look up above the head, on top of the head, a bunch of little spots in there. But I want everybody to observe the shape of these spots, especially as we go up towards the head of the top of the head of the one on the right. Notice that those spots are turning into horizontal lines, not a round spot. If you were to look down on it, you would see a round spot, but we're seeing those round spots from a foreshortened view. And that makes those spots that are appearing, sort of disappearing over the top of the head into little horizontal lines there. And that is, that because they're foreshortened away from us. So imagine looking at not down on a circle, but at a circle at an angle. Big pad of little dots between the eyes, and there is a dark stripe above the eye. No spots immediately around the eyes. So let's take a look at one other thing, and I want you to notice the position of the nose here relative to the eyes. How far is it from, how long is this area here? And the reason I have this cute little one here is just to have you notice that here the nose is close to the eye because the chin is tilted up towards you. The same critter, if it lowers its head, the nose is now much lower than that. And if it lowers that head even more, there's now even more distance between the eyes and where you see the nose, right? So there isn't a specific formula of how far down should I drop to go to the nose, because because the same individual can hold its head at different angles. So let's look now at drawing this head. And actually, I think what we're going to do is we're just going to focus on the front view here, and then we're going to return to our friends at the Conservancy. So what I usually do when I'm drawing a head like this is I start with a light circle. And I'm going to make crosshairs through that. I want in that circle, here are my eyes, and here is my nose. Now my nose is going to be sticking down this way, so the nose is going to be, there's going to be more head that's going to be dropping down here, but I don't know how far down that is going to be here. I'm going to give myself just a few landmarks and kind of measure my way around the face of this. So I have a fairly broad distance between my two eyes. On some critters, the eyes are one eye length apart. Ooh, like you. Now here, we are further than that. So I'm going to give myself this nice broad nose coming down. And then I'm going to be getting into the place where this whole nose pad is going to sit. And so I'm going to just, for now, put a big triangle in. My eye, I want to think of how far out this eye goes. So I have an eye that's in here, and I have an eye that's in here. Think about placing your eyes before sculpting your eyes. The eye shape is going to be a straight line on the inside, curve up and down. So straight little line on the inside, a curve on the top, a curve around the bottom, and your eye is going to come to a little point there. Notice that the pupils are not sitting here in the middle of the eye. Our pupils are up here. So now I'm going to sculpt a little bit of the cheeks in. Down here is where I get my little muzzle space. I'm going to come down a little bit and get that angle of the mouth. Your chin hairs stick out. If you don't give your critter enough chin, it will look rather doggy. Give it more of a chin and it will look more cat-like.
Can you adjust your page up? Thank you.
You want cheeks. And you want cheekbones. So here's going to be the top. My pencil is. There we go. All right, so here's where my level of my eyes, top of my head is going to be up here. My ears are going to be coming up on the sides of the head, sort of out from where the edges of the eyes are. So some critters, there's a very tight negative space, like your house cat has a much tighter negative space between its ears. Here, big, wide space. For those ear shapes, it's a rounded circle, it's an oval sticking up with a bump on its bottom. Right? So there's an oval that sticks up with a bump on its bottom. And now we're going to give it majestic, impressive fur around the cheeks. So there is sort of a general kind of blocking in of this. I'm going to show a little bit about a few little details and then leave the rest to you. So in this area right in here, there's going to be a pattern of little spots, and that will be different on different individuals. Around the eye there's some really important sculpting that you want to do to make this look really catty. The tissues of the eye stick out from the head, and there's sort of, think of it as a two-part deal. There's one part in here, and then there's another part that kind of swings around like this. So, and in between those, that's where you get that little dark mark. But even if this didn't have a dark mark right in there, you would still have that same kind of, that same structure. The big kind of central bump here swinging out from that. Underneath the eye, on many cats, this one included, you're going to see there's a real kind of place for right in here and in here, bright white that gives some really wonderful contrast around those eyes. So one reason those eyes really pop out to you is because it has this white rim around that lower edge of the eye. Inner corner, I'm going to make that darker and get that pupil up. So the eye is one place you want to really focus, slow down, and pay attention to as you are drawing. Another kind of key detail area is what's going on with the nose. As you go around and look at different cats have really different shaped noses. And so there's this sort of neat M pattern that goes on with this. So there's a little notch in the middle. It comes up and down and up and down. So there's that little kind of flying M, or like when people draw a little bird. Right? There's that little bird shape there. And fitting into that is this little pink part here. And what you're seeing, and what you really want to visualize and see, is the dyslexic 66. The dyslexic 66 is what goes on with our nostrils. So there's one of the sixes. See, that's a 6 that's lying on its side. And here is the other 6, like that, lying the other way. That's why it's the dyslexic 66. And so that's just a little bit about our nostrils. Come down a little bit for the mouth. And your critter will feel a lot more big catty when you put in these punctuation points at the corner of the mouth. The last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bump up to an ear here. And what I'm going to do on the ear is I'm going to come along and I'm going to make a few of those little kind of like, oh, this is a fuzzy shape line. All right. Here's, I'm going to put in a little bit, oh, this is a fuzzy shape line. Give a hint that, you know, if you've got a pet cat, you can check it out. There's that little pocket that is sometimes right down in there. And here's what in the ear here, what people will tend to do is start to draw those long hairs. And if you do that, it's not going to look right, because what you're going to be doing is adding dark where all those hairs are. So if I start drawing hairs in where all those long hairs are, the hairs are where it's light. The hairs aren't where it's dark. So what I suggest you do is you can notice that there's a big clump of hairs here and then a smaller clump of hairs at its base. That's something you're going to regularly see in a lot of critter ears. And then also notice that it's paler up towards the edge of this. So if I've got a clump of hairs here and a clump of hairs here and it's paler towards the edge, what I can do is on this ear, I put in the hairs by putting in the dark part instead of instead of drawing in those hairs. I'm going to draw where the hairs aren't. So I'm putting the dark in the background there. And that gives you, if I want to put it just at maybe 1 or 2 little lines suggesting that these are long hairs. But I don't want to get in there and start drawing like, oh, it's got hairs like this, because then I put in those dark hairs where it's the lightest. That will help your critter. So that is just a few little thoughts on drawing snow leopards. Oh, just 4 spots, again, spots that are out here. You're going to see them as a line. Oh. Spots that are further down on the head, you're going to see those as a spot. But ones that are down up in here, you're going to see those as a little line. So with that, have some fun, play with your critters. And my challenge for the Nature Nature Journal Club today, hold on a second, I'm going to stop this share. I am going to jump to here and change my camera view. So here's my challenge for you. Let's play with the connection between art and conservation. What I would love for you folks to do, and we haven't done this before on any of our programs, so this is going to be new, is your homework is to create a snow leopard infographic or poster. We are going to give it a hashtag that we're going to share with the Snow Leopard Conservancy. So they can, what we want to do is try to create a piece of artwork that will help somebody else think snow leopards are really, really cool. And if you want to, you can turn it into an infographic with information about them, or it can just be a portrait of one. And it could be with any medium that you want. And we want to use, help me out here, Ashleigh, what hashtag should we use for this? Put you on the spot.
Hashtag I love snow leopards.
Hashtag I love snow leopards. All right, so hashtag I love snow leopards, all one word. All right, Vea's gonna put that into the chat for us. And let's share those on Facebook, Instagrams, other places. Let's see if we can raise some snow leopard awareness through a blast of cool snow leopard art. And so this can be graphic, this can be realistic, it can be a close-up with a baby, it can be a distant mountainside with a snow leopard hidden in it. But let's see if we can create some artwork and share that. And as you share that, I also want to encourage people, when you publicly share it, also just include a link to the Snow Leopard Conservancy. And we'll see if we can make a pulse of snow leopard awareness through the artwork that we do. I think that would be really fun. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what you do, because I know you all got mad skills. So let's bring our A game to the Snow Leopard Conservancy. Let's jump back to Ashleigh now.
Thanks so much, Jack. That was a lot of fun. You unlocked a lot of mysteries for me, especially the chin. That's one I've always struggled with drawing. And also the eye structure. I came up with, it's a little bit punk rock, but I think it's an improvement from where I was at before.
Oh, check you out. Yes. Yes.
That was a lot of fun. And the shapes on the cliffside. So this was really fun. So I have always had kind of a fear of drawing because I've not felt very good at it. So this.
So, and so then the thing is, and people will tell that you this in this group, and we've seen, if you just start doing this on a regular basis, this will come. This is absolutely a skill that you can learn. Just give it a year of sketching dangerously, and you and Rodney can sit out there in Nepal with your pens and your big gloves on, because if it's so cold that your batteries are not working, you need those mittens too. So we can work on our mittened snow leopard drawings.
Wonderful. This is really fun. Thank you so much for sharing your talent with us.
So I was wondering if you could just tell us a little bit about what is the Snow Leopard Conservancy doing with snow leopard conservation? Are there any, what's the status of these beasties, and what can we as, what can we do that can have an influence, a positive influence on the protection and conservation of these species?
Yeah, thank you so much. So yeah, I have some more photos to show you. So let me skip back to where we're at here. And yeah, so we really, it's not just about, Dr. Jackson or myself or Siobhan saving snow leopards. This is really going to require, everybody getting involved to protect our planet and our precious resources, and not just for us, but for all of wildlife and people combined. So I'd like to just share a few programs with you all, and ways that we're working with communities to directly conserve snow leopards. This is a map of Asia and Central Asia. I know one of the questions was, where do snow leopards live? They live in 12 countries throughout Central Asia. And the little snow leopard icons indicate where our current projects are located. So we work across all of these we work in 8 different countries currently. And we have different projects that I'll give you some examples. So this is what it looks like. We looked at what it looks like in Nepal. This is what it looks like in China in the harsh winter. And so pastoral communities share the land with snow leopards. And as you can imagine, a hungry snow leopard, especially with cubs, walking on the mountainside, sees a yak down unprotected in an easy corral to get into, and she jumps in, kills a yak, and then gets herself into trouble. These people have the communities that live there have very little, and they rely completely on their livestock for transportation and for food, meat, fur, cheese, milk. So when one yak gets taken by a snow leopard, it can really, take a lot of money from the community and puts them in a really bad situation. And often they're left with no choice but to kill the cat out of retaliation. So our solutions, as you saw in the video with Tachi, come into play with predator deterrence. So that could be corrals to prevent snow leopards and wolves from getting into the livestock to kill them. Also, we're working on these, working with fox lights now, which is a low-cost alternative to creating a big structural corral. And these livestock deterrents, it's electronic solar powered light. And at night, if you move them around in different places around the corral, it'll prevent snow leopards, it'll deter them because it looks like it's a bright flashing light. So this has prevented snow leopards from attacking livestock. So we're currently trying to get this into as many communities as possible. This woman is in Nepal. And so this is a really low cost alternative that we're working on deploying in multiple countries. And also we're working with communities for conservation education. A lot of the curriculum doesn't include this. And so we're working on incorporating this into curriculums in rural communities that share their land with the snow leopard and other predators and other amazing animals that are part of this ecosystem. This is our conservation partner, Tunga, and she works, and this is her program. It's an award-winning program called Nomadic Nature Trunks. And she works in Mongolia with rural communities. It's like a traveling classroom in a box. There's puppets. There's also, everybody gets to play a role. Somebody gets to be the snow leopard. Somebody gets to be the blue sheep. Somebody gets to be the wolf. It's really fun and interactive, and they learn all about the web of life and the interconnectedness of all of nature. And so Tunga has done a phenomenal job with this program, and she's working now in cities because that's where a lot of the conservation and environmental decisions are made. So with rural communities and then also in big cities. We also work in Pakistan. This is a school program with students, both boys and girls, which is a really important opportunity to get girls involved in education. And this is celebrating Snow Leopard Day. And you can see I love this picture because the kids are so excited, and it's all about getting them excited about nature. And these kids are going to be the one to really protect wildlife and the next generation. So we work really closely with them, which is really exciting. These are our partners at the at Baltistan Wildlife Conservation and Development Organization. And we also do monitoring. So our partners and the community members are the ones that do the monitoring. And so we give them camera traps, and they go out and check to monitor their wildlife. And it really gets them engaged and excited about preserving. There's nothing like, checking a camera trap and seeing all the animals that were there just before you. It's really exciting. We also have a program called Land of the Snow Leopard Network, which has been going on since 2013. It's a phenomenal program that's grown from just 8 founding members to over 100 now, which includes indigenous cultural practitioners, which are shamans, revered elders, sacred site guardians, all working to revive their own traditional cultures through Central Asia that were lost during the Soviet era. And that includes snow leopard as an intrinsic revered species, a sacred species. And so this is an exciting program. We have country coordinators for each of the countries, and then they work with community coordinators and the herders that are directly affected. So it's very exciting to work with this community of leaders. And one of the programs, this is Jakar Pool in Kyrgyzstan, and he is a giver of blessings. That is his role in the community, and he's, especially this whole year during COVID, he's been working with families and communities to provide that spiritual guidance and also reinforcing that snow leopards are a sacred species. And so this is him working in the community with the children, with his elders and youth program. And next, I'd like to introduce our education outreach coordinator, which is our outreach manager, Shavaun Kidd. And this is a new book that she and other photographers published just this last year. It's hot off the press. And I will turn it over to Siobhan to talk about a little bit about that with you. Go ahead, Siobhan. She might need help unmuting. Yes.
You are currently muted, Siobhan. Oh, there you go.
I couldn't unmute it. Hi, I'm the co-author and editor of this book, Searching for the Snow Leopard, and I'd like to share a little bit about the book with you. The stories and images found within its pages are from the conservationists and photographers who've traveled to the high mountains of Asia to study and photograph the snow leopard. They're a recreation of their personal experiences, and interwoven with their personal stories are the knowledge they've gained through their painstaking observation and their reflection on what it takes to save this species. The reader accompanies them as they learn firsthand about the life of snow leopards and experience what it's like to search for one against a background of rock and snow, and explore the intangible connection between humans and the sacred cat. If you'd like to have a copy of this book, you can find it on our website. I believe they're going to be putting the link into the chat, but it's if you click on our store in the website, and then there's a sublink that will take you to searching for the snow leopard. While you're on our website, be sure to check out all the information about snow leopards and the work of our partners in the field. We also have a section for kids. You can take a quiz about snow leopards. There's a whole facts section. We also have a news section where at least once or twice a month, we publish a news article from our newsletter about what's going on in the world of snow leopard conservation. And then again, our online store where you'll find note cards by winners of our art and poetry contest, like the one pictured here from Ekaterina Drozdinya. I know she had signed up for today. I'm not sure if she's online with us. And then the ones on the right are from Kyle Trefney, one of our youth snow leopard champions. He also had signed up today. So if you guys are on the chat or on the Zoom today, welcome. But you can find these note cards in our store. And then you can also sign up for our newsletter, which comes out at least once a month. There's a link to it on the website, and I think that they're going to put that in the chat for you.
Excellent.
And this photo here is from Steve Tracy. Some of the photos that we were using for the drawing were from Steve Tracy. He's an Australian photographer, but for a time he lived in Japan, and he was the photographer for the Tama Zoo in Tokyo. And this is one of the cats that lives there. And the other photographs that we were doing the drawing from were taken by Tashi Gali. He's from Nepal, and he's one of the contributors to Searching for the Snow Leopard. Thank you, Ashleigh.
Thanks, Siobhan. And thank you all for taking the time out of your day to learn about snow leopards. And this is the link for our website. We really appreciate you coming today. And also, if you are able to donate and help with our programs, we would really appreciate it. We are currently working on with the communities because ecotourism has been so challenging. It's basically disappeared this last year, working with the communities or trying to raise funding to work with the communities so that they have different incomes and livelihoods. So we really appreciate your support, and I will turn it over to Jack and to Marcia for the question section.
All right. Well, thank you so much. Let's see here. We are now going to add Spotlight, and if somebody could find Marcia and Spotlight her for me, that would be great. So what we're going to do is we are going to, I'm going to take a look over at our gallery. If anybody has a comment or a question that you'd like to direct directly to Ashleigh, Marcia, we can do that. Just raise up your hand, or if you've got a journal page where you've got some sketches and drawings that you've already been working on that you wanted to share. I'm going to start with Sean or Susan. Sorry, Susan. Let's go to Susan. Hey there. Good to have you with us.
Hey, Susan.
We're going to give us a moment, Susan. We need to figure out how to allow you to. Yes, you can now unmute yourself.
He's already unmuted.
Yeah, I'm unmuted. So this was the first one that you asked us to draw, and I think it was actually the best one, the one where we just did it by ourselves. Mm-hmm. And then number 2, and then you can see the other ones. And this guy looks more like a bear, but I've never ever been a drawer ever, and I've always disliked it. So this is like my first time ever even attempting to draw. anything.
Susan, I'm so impressed with you for two reasons. One, doing something that is out of your regular wheelhouse, like most adults don't do that. And secondly, then being brave enough to just get out there and, I haven't done this in forever and I'm going to share it. So that is absolutely fantastic. Your snow leopard face really shows the structure and features that we're talking about. And the more you keep doing this, the better and better and better it gets. So this is a skill that you can absolutely learn. Thank you.
I do have this. I have this little. This is. I remember when Ming Hua was at SF Zoo, and I bought this, and so this is Ming Hua. And
the legendary Ming Hua.
Yeah, I know that she passed away a couple years ago, but this is Ming Hua, and she has all the things that you've described with the different spots, and then it's open on the side, and then even in the front. So, and she's got little paws. So this is actually an incredible reproduction. I got this at the zoo, by the way, and I'm gonna go there and see your new snow leopard. So,
yay! Yes, the new habitat's opening this year. Oh, thank you so much.
That's really cool to see. And again, I really honor you jumping in, diving in, and also sharing. This community is also here for you, to support you in the next steps, like beyond that. You can this is, in a short period of time, you're going to realize that this is a skill that you absolutely can do. And welcome to our community.
It just takes practice, right? Yeah.
That's right.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. It was a lot of fun. I really I love snow leopards, and I've known about the Conservancy for a pretty long time. So, and I'm looking forward to taking a trip with you guys up to actually seeing one live.
Yes, so please.
That's in a couple years. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Susan.
Thank you so much for being here. I now am going to, let's see here.
We do have some questions. I don't know when you want to go over them.
We can mix those in with shares.
Okay.
And I'm just looking around to see who is, I see Ray Bonto in London has been sketching up a storm, and good to have you with us.
Hi. Hi. So I decided to just sketch the video. Yeah, and I managed to block it in a bit. And here are some quick gestures. Ignore the pigeon. That's completely false. And here was one of the photos, and here are the other photos.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Nice,
really
nice line variation too.
The question mark tail, you really captured that in that upper one.
Yeah, and finally, yeah, here was the others.
Yep.
Got the face and the
Were you using your water soluble pencil on that?
No.
I like the way you've sort of simplified values and shadows. That's very effective.
Well done.
Yeah.
Very nice.
The face is incredible.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing.
I've also got a Nature Journal page if you'd like to see.
Yes, please show that to us.
So today I went out, and remembering on Tuesday's class, I sketched the cherry blossom. I stuck in some toned paper.
Oh, great.
Like that. And also a rock dove I managed to get.
Oh, isn't it fun to kind of paste those onto the page and have the drawing cross over those lines?
Yeah.
Oh, right. So your cherry blossoms are blooming too.
Yeah.
Oh, Thank you so much for sharing that, Ray Bonto. It's really good to see you again.
Thank you.
Now I'm looking around if there's Vultures. Good to see you again. We did something on toned paper just the other day, and I was looking for you. I was hoping that you got to see that.
I did sketch it, yeah. The toned paper, you mentioned how putting on the white that still is very funny. When I had the sketchbook, I had the toned paper sketchbook for a while now, but it still is fun. I had it till the year. I thought, well, I'll just put on the white gouache and it might get not so interesting after time, but it's still very fun. But my question was, you said about the snow leopards that it's the problem is that they jump sometimes and take out the yetis, so the natives have no other choice but to kill them. And I was wondering, and you are using the fox lights, if I remember that they're called correctly,
Yes.
but is that the main problem, that they're endangered because of that the natives have no choice to kill them, but to kill them, is that like the biggest problem that
Yeah, that's a
they're
really good
endangered?
question. Yeah, that is right. It is probably the biggest problem because they're so elusive and really secretive and live in such harsh environment that, you know, it's really uninhabitable for most people. But the people that do live there, you know, there is a reduction in prey base because of competition over domestic livestock. They're overgrazing. Their herds are too large, and so it is competing with the natural prey base. So that, and then that's of course gets them in trouble. The snow leopards, you know, attacking yaks and cattle crossbreeds and goats and sheep, and that's what gets them into trouble. Other challenges, poaching does happen, illegal killing, but it's not as common as just being retaliated against because of killing livestock. Other challenges include, you know, development, unsustainable development of the land. So mining coming in Mongolia, road development, and then cutting across, you know, breaking up critical habitat. So those are challenges. And of course, climate change is also a challenge as people and their livestock start moving more north because the alpine line keeps getting higher. They're going to have more competition over resources with snow leopards. But fortunately, working with the people, it does work. These tools, Dr. Jackson and all of SLC's efforts, all have, you know, are working over the last 40 years. They're really working to deter conflict and really provide people, like turn snow leopards from being a pest into a real valued part of the ecosystem. And so it is working. We just have to work with more communities and be able to give these tools so that they don't have to kill the leopards and they have other options. Really good question.
I'll just jump in
And
make a quick comment. Can I?
Yes, Rodney Jackson would like to come in.
You know, the people that live in snow leopard habitat, it's very remote and there are few roads in a lot of it. Really, their aspiration is no different from ours. The woman would just like their children to go to good schools and have a future. And, you know, they've never been exposed to the uniqueness of their wildlife. A lot of them don't know that snow leopards are only found in that part of the world. And if we can elevate the value of snow leopards and at the same time provide those families with supplemental sources for income, it makes an enormous difference. And the women running homestays, bed and breakfast, for example, in these remote areas have totally changed their perception of snow leopards from being a pest to actually being something very valuable. And their goal in it is not so much a snow leopard as their own family, being able to have the money to send their kids to a good school so the kids have a future. So those are things that we work on.
So if the people can do better at their living states and their kids to school, eat good, it's also a benefit for the snow leopards, since if a snow leopard kills one of the yaks, it's not such it doesn't take such a big like kind of robe and money out of their lives. So if you help those people, it will benefit the snow leopards.
Yeah, they have alternative income to offset that loss. Part of it too. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Folgers, thank you. That was a really insightful question, and really brought out the importance of some of the conservation strategies that are being used. Let me. I'm going to see again if there's another comment or question or journal page that somebody wanted to share.
Somebody did ask, does tourism does it negatively affect, or can it negatively affect snow leopards?
If it's not regulated, yes. And, you know, in Hemis National Park, which really is a place to go and see snow leopards, the park authorities are now realizing that they need to limit the number of tourists that come in. And especially it's in winter at the breeding system time, and we want to make sure those snow leopards can move up and down the valleys and find one another so they can mate.
That makes sense. Are snow leopards on the red list?
They are indeed. They were 2-3 years ago. They were downgraded, so-called downgraded from being endangered to being vulnerable, which is the next step down, but nonetheless, they're on the red list. Okay. And so we can't let up our guard. We've really got to work to reduce those threats.
And thank you for that work. I'm going to add Tracy into the conversation here. Tracy, good to see you.
Good to see you guys too.
Hey, Tracy.
Been loving the snow leopards.
Oh, wow.
I'm trying to get this guy. Well, I was wondering, will we be able to see the pictures that you showed today in our artwork contest?
Yes, I'm going to be posting this. I'll try to post this very, very soon. So you can see, you'll have the video, but also I got all these photographs from the Snow Leopard Conservancy. Do you folks have those photographs at a site? Do you have like a portrait gallery on the site?
We do. We have a lot of our pictures.
Most of those photographs came from searching for the snow leopard, and they're not on the website, no, because they're with permission.
Okay.
The Steve Tracy photos, they're open to the public. I can probably put those on a page.
That we'd love to see those if that could be kind of pinned up on your website. I think a bunch of people would love to work from those. Tracy, could I get you to hold that up to the screen again?
You bet. Let's see.
Well done.
Oh yeah, you really kind of get the shapes of those eyes, those nose, some of those critical sort of string of pearls spots above the eyes. Wonderful observations there.
What's interesting is how the more you draw, the more easy it is to draw, because a lot of marking from my wolf thing helps me mark how are their eyes different, how are their ears, what are their shoulders big.
Yes, and then you've got a point to compare from. You've got a starting place. Instead of like, oh my gosh, there's something weird going on and I guess it's an ear, you're thinking like, wow, that's a really low blunt ear, and it really caps you being able to get those differences. Oh, look at the texture inside the ear of that snow leopard there. You can really see how kind of drawing in the darker part allows those light colored hairs that are in the front to pop out.
Yes, and it's fun.
That's great. Thank you.
But I love how, like, as we've started with the anatomy, you can see how they have adapted to their environments. And like, you're like, okay, well, like I noticed on the wolf, their tail, like I think of this as like a wolf tail, like it just sticks out. This like lays like a sash across the environment on the snow leopard. And you can just see, like on this one, I loved how he just like is resting his tail on the rock. It just looks so like languid, like watery, laying out.
So the words you're using to describe this make me want to up the challenge to encourage people also to write some snow leopard haiku.
All right, I'll add it in here.
That like a sash, tail like a sash. That's 5 syllables.
Yeah,
right. That when you described it as a sash, I mean that's Oh, that's it. Yeah, that's really fun. So I want to encourage people, see if we can get some haikus. And if you don't like being restricted by 575, remember there's always the maiku, which is like a haiku, but it doesn't have to be 575. That's really cool.
Yeah.
All right, let's
Thank
see.
you, Tracy.
I'm looking for any other questions, or I'm going to jump over to Ann Chadwick from Point Blue Conservation Science. Ann is with an organization that does lots of bird research and conservation around the world. And
So hang on a second. I'm getting feedback, right? Turn this off.
Yeah, you need to turn off your other device. So just log in on your iPad.
I know. Can't wake it up.
What we might have to do is just forego the audio. Oh, there we go.
I think I killed it.
Oh, excellent, excellent.
Is that okay now?
Yeah. So
okay.
If you get to play
so
with
mostly I just wanted to thank you guys for the work that you're doing. Conservation work is so important. And these are such beautiful critters, and I'm going to take up this challenge and post, keep working on this guy that I just started working on and post it to the website with hashtag I love snow leopards, and maybe even do a little challenge to my friends on Facebook and say, for every like I get, maybe I'll make a donation to the organization. And
so Ann has just upped the challenge of the challenge.
Encourage that sort of awareness and conservation. So I love that idea. Thank you so much. And I just have to say, I got to go to school, elementary all the way through high school, with a whole bunch of Matheson kids. So Peter Matheson's nieces and nephews. And there were a gazillion of them. They made up sort of the whole basketball team and the whole football team, and a bunch of athletic, interesting, mostly young men, young boys at the time. And some of them are really good friends. So Peter Matheson wrote a wonderful book about snow leopard way back in the 70s.
1978, yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ann. That's fantastic.
Thank you so much for all you're doing.
Well,
thank you.
And thank you, Ann. It's great to connect conservationists. The idea of kind of putting this down on toned paper is, I think that's going to be so much fun. You get a different effect if you put it on brown paper, a different effect if you put it on gray paper, and you can play around and see what you like. Something to note as you're doing this project is take just a little bit of time to look at the eye color on these cats. And you look around a bunch of different cats, you'll see some really crazy variation in eye color. So beautiful, absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, I love the white on the paper color. It's really beautiful. Well done.
Thanks.
Let's see, I'm now going to see if there's, back to gallery here. I'm going to join you with another researcher and conservationist. Nicholas is an Arctic researcher and nature journaler. It's fun to connect all you people.
Indeed.
Nicholas, good to have you with us.
Thank you very much, and thank you so much for showing also what you do for conservation in the Himalayas. And I was really excited by the link with the communities. It's so important for us also in the Arctic to be able to do that, especially when we are not able to travel there anymore during the pandemic. So it's something that is, I think, critical even now for the future if we want to make that stable long term. But I had a quick question for you guys I was curious to know whether with the setting of the cameras, you were showing some of the pictures and some of the videos captured by the automatic cameras, whether you are able to have good estimates of how many snow leopard you can have within an area. So is it a tool that is working for estimating how many are remaining there? Thank you.
Yeah, it is a good tool. However, we found out that snow leopards are extremely hard to photograph with remote cameras, and you really you got to get actually a lateral a flank view, so you see those open rosettes to be able to identify the different individuals. And the cameras have to get pretty widely spaced. Sometimes it would take all day to set up one camera, and in a typical survey you need to have at least 40 cameras going at the same time to meet all those scientific assumptions. And I keep pushing for poop, because genetics, I think, is a quicker way to go to get to the number of snow leopards. We can collect their scats easily because snow leopards use very well defined trails, usually on ridge tops, to walk along, and they are socially communicating to one another, although they're solitary animals, through scent marking, through their scat. We can collect the scat and we can identify individuals. We can also, from the scat, get the diet or their recent diet of all the species that they've eaten. So, you know, the more we can use non-invasive techniques, I think the better for the future knowledge about the cat. So your question's a very good one. We don't have a good number estimate of what the population is that is remaining, but we know that some countries are doing well with maintaining stable, maybe even increasing. Other countries are not.
Yeah. And yes, Ray Bonto was asking a question. Would you then be looking at the DNA through the scat?
Yes,
Yeah.
we are doing that. The challenge with it actually is a bureaucratic one, in that a lot of governments don't want to, don't allow the export out of the country. And as you can imagine, many of these countries don't have the money to operate a genetics lab where the machinery, you know, the instruments you need are $500,000-$600,000. So our challenge is to get countries to cooperate with one another, share their resources to common benefit.
Yeah, you would think that exporting some bags of poop would not be an obstacle, but then enter politics and anything is possible.
Yes. But, you know, this is where networking is so important. And I really like your drawing classes, because we never going to learn doing these things alone. But the more we can share our knowledge and our skills and our connections, the quicker we're going to, you know, really achieve the goal of living more in harmony with nature.
That's well said. That is well said. All right, I am going to bring Marcia back on here and there we are.
I wanted everyone to know that I'm creating a page on our website. The link will be on our media page so that you'll be able to see all these pictures that we used today for the drawing. And I'm creating that right now.
Excellent. So I want to thank all of you stewards of nature for the work that you are doing on behalf of these cats. on behalf of the communities of human beings in the areas where they live and the ecosystems where they have grown. This is so important as the population of our planet is getting denser and denser by the day. We need to be deliberate. We need to be intentional. And we need the decisions that we make to protect and preserve these resources to be science-based. And so by taking these approaches, both the science-based approach and the community-based approach, from considering all of those perspectives and bringing those together, this is a wonderful model for how conservation can work at scale, and is the way forward. And so with great respect, I'm so appreciative of the work that you do, also the work that you do, Marcia, bringing things like this to the attention of people. Let's put in the chat one more time an opportunity to find the donation link and the website for the Conservancy. And thank you all for what you have done, what you are doing, and what you will be doing going forward.
Thank you, Jack.
Hi.
Thank you.
Can I give you a haiku? Can I give you a haiku?
Oh, yes. Oh, absolutely. Okay. Hold on a second. I'm going to add you in here, right here. So this will be the perfect way for us to kind of go out.
I don't know about that.
We have a closing haiku for the day.
I'm a pen woman also with Marcia and Sarah. I don't know who else might be on it, but I've never written a haiku, so I went by your 575. So I don't know if it's correct or not, but it's from my heart to all of us. A tale like a sash, a mating call for his own heritage. May we respect nature's struggle.
Thank you.
Patty, thank you.
May it be so. Dear friends.
Channeling that with my spirit head here. Yes, that was lovely.
Oh, I love it.
Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you.
Take care, everyone.
Thank
you for being here.
Everyone, have a good day.